Welcome to 908 ENT, the podcast. I'm your host, Sal Liberato. We're here to help you take another step towards success. Now let's get ready to learn the basics from the best. What's going on, everyone? Thank you for tuning in to another episode. Today we have two guests, Hilary Kaplan and Miriam Verga. How are you guys doing today?
We're great. How are you?
Good. So Hilary and Miriam are the owners and principal designers at Mimi and Hill Designs, Studio and Shop. They are all about finding the perfect balance in design. They believe that a home should reflect the diverse individuality that every family has without compromising cohesion and elegance. But this is all public info. Anybody can Google you or the business. What would you really like our listeners to know about you?
I guess our design approach to us feels very special because we really spend a lot of time trying to get to know our client and how they need their house to function for them and who they are as individuals, where they've traveled, what inspires them. We spend a long time getting to know the client and finding out what speaks to them personally. And that is far more important to us than having one design philosophy or one design aesthetic. So rightly or wrongly, that's how we choose to run our firm. And we think that it begets a product, a home that is sacred to that family.
Yeah, that's awesome. So just to start the show off, I always like to ask everybody, what are the three simplest things that lead to success?
Okay, I've thought about this. One is collaboration, because as you know, we're partners in the design firm. It's not just one of us. So it's always going to be teamwork and working together.
I think that, if a lot of women especially are naturally good collaborators, which I think is important as women, but we also put this crazy pressure on ourselves that we have to be really good at something before we start something. And I think what collaboration teaches women specifically is that you don't have to be good at everything. You can be good at some things without having to be an expert at everything. And that's a uniquely female trait that I always want to point out to female listeners, that is something that is bred into us. And guys have this uniquely individual trait that if they're even remotely interested, they're like, yeah, let's do it. And I think that that's amazing. And we've tried to take a page out of that book of just diving head first. So, I think, what did you have as your next thing?
I said, well, it kind of leads to that, is empowering other people and our team. It's not just, yes, it started out the two of us, but our team is now 15, 16 people. It's about letting those other people shine and being the best that they can be and really empowering them.
Yeah. And then I guess our third thing, Hilary, this is so Hilary, by the way, this third thing she came up with, it's systems and organization.
There you go.
And that is how we've been able to expand because a mindset for growth means you can walk away from your business at any time and it can function without you. Mm-hmm. So how do you have that growth mindset built into your business? And really that is systems. And if you try to do a business without those systems in place, you're relying too heavily on one person's brain really to keep it organized, which is not really how growth happens.
Yeah, definitely. I think the collaboration one was great. Nobody said that yet, whether that's within the business or working with customers and clients as well. And I feel like you guys definitely do both of that. So then moving on, can you guys share a moment or experience that inspired you to pursue interior design or to get into this industry?
Well, we got asked, I got asked by my interior designer to join her firm.
Oh, wow.
And then to buy her firm. And I was like, well, have you met me? I'm like half a brain and my other half is Hilary. I am definitely a high level, big level thinker. I like to see big picture and details get a little lost with me. And Hilary is very much like myopic, detail oriented, like totally extremes of that.
Yin and yang for us.
Yeah.
For sure, but.
So, where I was always pushing us for growth and we can do this and no problem. She was always like, but how? And so she would, really sort of buttoned us up so well. So I didn't really want to start a pursuit without her. And then when we started to talk to this designer more and more, she really was like, you guys seem great. You should just buy my company. And in hindsight, maybe we should have. I don't know. We weren't really ready for a big step like that. So we said, let's just baby step our way into business because we still had kids at home. We were still mostly stay-at-home mothers. Weren't really ready to give that up. I still had a 4-year-old at the time. I still wanted to be home by 3:00 with the kids. So we took baby steps into business.
We did. And I think besides starting the business, we did it as a design business because that's what we love. And that's what we really became passionate about. We were the ones running everything from the PTO to the temple to whatever. We were running the events. We were making them look the best they could look. They were raising the most money. So we were always aesthetically attuned. And then we were really like a great team, as Miriam said. When you find someone where you really complement each other's skills.
And then can I tell you a podcast secret just between you, me, and all your listeners? This is another thing that happened to me that inspired me to go into business was I had a situation with another mom. She just didn't like me and made it really clear. And it really hurt my feelings. Like I wasn't just like a little bit hurt. I was like so sad and so hurt. And I was like, wow, my world is not supposed to be measured by one other person's experience of me because it didn't reflect who I was. It reflected who she was. And yet I had let it like sort of get into my soul. And that's when I realized like being a stay-at-home mom wasn't giving me enough like protection in this world, which I know sounds strange to say, but it had left me too vulnerable to things that I didn't really value.
And being a mom is great and staying home when we did but for us personally, we needed to go beyond, the diapers and the school lunches and the parties. We needed to get beyond that and really use our brain every day. That became so important for us to really be thinking and creative. Like that was really who we were.
Yeah, and positive reinforcement from somebody other than your husband who thinks the house was clean all day long because it was clean when he left and clean when he got back. So, I needed more. I'm just going to be honest.
Yeah. And then something that you guys said that's very common with business, having two people that if you're going to go into business together, make sure you guys have different strengths and you're not like the same type of person or you're both good at the same thing or like to do the same thing. Because then it's just a little bit harder.
Yeah, I don't think we've ever felt competition over who is doing what. I think it's been like a very natural division of labor for us.
And we're not big ego people. It's not about the ego.
Well, that's a big thing too, no?
Yeah.
I think like for us, like a win for Mimi and Hill is a win for Mimi and Hill. Although I am not as evolved a person as Hilary. So sometimes I do like her to tell me specifically, good job. Like I want her to notice like the thing I did in a room. And I'm like, but that looks really good, right, Hilary? And she does. She's so good about that. She gives me that little pat on the back because she knows like her partner needs that. My partner doesn't need that, but her partner does.
Yeah. So can you guys share a lesson that you've learned from that's helped you get to where you are today, whether that was like just starting out or kind of throughout building the business?
I'm going to let Hilary talk because I think the lesson we had to learn
was a big one for me.
It
was super big for me. I needed to see that I wasn't perfect, that I make mistakes and really own the mistakes and know that it's okay that I made those mistakes and we're going to learn from those mistakes. But not being perfect was hard. I was very much like a person who would try, like OCD and try to achieve everything the best I could. And it had to be perfect. Got to get straight A's, got to do this. And I've learned from owning this business for all these years that it's okay to make mistakes.
Yeah. And there's value to risk. There's value in mistakes. Like a mistake that cost you 5,000 could have cost you 50. A mistake, it's like, you have to really like, for me, this was easier. I think this was the gift I brought our business is I would just joke in the beginning, like cost of tuition, because we decided not to go back to school for this. We hired people who went to school for design to become our design assistants, but we didn't go back to school for design. So we just racked a lot up to cost of tuition and we laughed a lot. Like we try to really like bring levity and grace. Like grace was a big word we tried to bring to ourselves in the beginning. We haven't talked about grace much lately, but that was a big word for us in our first 5 years.
Yeah, and we've had a lot of people from different industries, and then there's a lot of sports people that have come on the podcast, and they've shared the same thing about the perfection. Because even trying to be like perfect in sports, like no, like you're not gonna be perfect at practice, not gonna be perfect in the game, but to be able to sustain that and then not let that get you down so you can still perform. That's like a big thing a lot of the athletes talk about, or coaches that we have on as well.
Yeah. Well, I think it's an especially powerful lesson for women because I think that's part of trying to compete in a quote unquote man's world was you had to be as good, if not better than them. So you always strove for more, better, you know, you had to be that person in the room who is, you know, at a different level and working the hardest. And I think that one thing I really try to teach my daughters is like going for it is the value. You know, last night, one of my kids was talking about, she's trying to become the chief of her newspaper.
Oh, wow.
And she said, I don't know if I'll get it. 18 people are going for the job. And I said, we don't care if you get it. We care that you tried to get it.
Right.
That's the value in this house. So I think that's, you know, a big messaging that is important for all kids. But I will say, I think for girls, it's a really, you know, putting yourself out there in that vulnerability is, and listen, I don't want to get too much into boy girl, but there was such a difference in how girls were raised, especially when we were younger. We're not young. I know we look young, but we're not. So, you know, maybe it's become a little easier for women now, but we really try to put that message out there over and over again to inspire those who are getting in their own way.
Yeah, 100%. And then it kind of just like segues into the next thing. So you guys have any like favorite quotes, mottos, mantras, anything you guys use like within the business or personally?
There's not a lot of boundaries in interior design. Like you're in their home, like they have access to your team in a very intimate way. You're figuring out where they fold their underwear. You're figuring out how much of everything they own. Like it becomes a very intimate experience. And so boundaries get a little like softer in this specific industry. And so one of the things we've had to do is create a boundary in a way that's kind and in a way that creates like a luxury experience. So we're really clear about yes, but yes with a $sign as the answer.
There you go.
That's we actually put it on a mug, I think, at one point. Our assistant did.
Because it's not that you have to say no. Like you should never say no to a client who's willing to pay, really. You should just be really clear about what that's going to cost the client. So I think that's like a really good lesson for people starting out their job is to really be clear with boundaries in a way that's like a business is clear with boundaries.
Yeah. No, that's great. Definitely important like any industry, but like you guys said with the design especially. So then we got our first this or that question. Everybody loves this one. Does hard work beat talent or does talent beat hard work?
That's why you're in a partnership, dude. You know, we debate this a lot because it's a talent-driven industry.
Yeah, so that's what I would say. You have to have talent to be a designer. Like you have to like we hire people all the time. And we're going to want the person who has the best talent, who's the most creative, who thinks out of the box, but once you have that talent, you got to use it. You have to, I hate the word work hard, but you have to be diligent in your job and you have to be motivated from it. So
we've never had a not hardworking team member. Like that hasn't come our way.
Yeah.
I think it's like, we've created an environment, I hope, where everyone feels like they're working toward a goal. We really model work-life balance. You know, someone called in sick today and he said, I'll try to get in as soon as possible because his partner is sick. And we're like, you're his person. You're not supposed to get here as soon as possible. You're supposed to take care of your person. So we really try to like emulate a work-life balance. And I think when you're respectful of people's life, they're respectful of your business. And we've had like some situations where that's gotten funny for us, but that was clearly a person that wasn't really dedicated to our work life. And so they didn't make eventually they didn't get the raise they wanted. Eventually it was easy to weed them out because it didn't matter to them, the culture here. But I will say we have done a specific thing in our company of pulling talent is so hard to find. Hard work to us is easier to find. So because talent is so hard to find, we have reduced the job of the talent members to just the parts that take talent. And we've given the hard work away as much as possible because we can source for hard work much easier than we can source for talent. So most of the design companies have designers follow a job all the way through. We do not. Our designers purely design, and then we pass the follow through and the hard work to a project manager who just oversees that job and gets the work done. So that's how we've solved for that question. We did it innately very quickly within our business because we had so many hardworking women who wanted to work for us who didn't have the talent as designers, and we found roles for them.
Well, it goes back to the first thing, the systems.
They run the systems, those project managers.
That's awesome. So then throughout that process, whether it's in business or just anything in general, what's the best way to overcome an obstacle or setback?
I think I kind of put this in two categories. In our business, I think we're small business owners, and it kind of goes back to what Miriam was saying. We're small business owners, so we're always going to have obstacles in maybe not having the best employees. We had to have made many decisions to let go of people. That's how it runs. So we had, those are obstacles. So we as a team together will face those problems. We will face financial problems. We'll always do it together. But the other is, I think, that you could speak about is clients. Like, how do we deal with those obstacles that clients have all the time? You don't tell them, right?
Yeah, I mean, I guess. Oh, I thought you meant like clients who are problems and obstacles.
No,
not the
jobs, the project. The project has obstacles, and how do we protect the client? I guess, right?
That's funny that I thought that. Yeah,
I install. I'm sure if something comes out of time or whatever.
So one of the things we learned to do is not like Hilary and I are crazy honest people. Like, whatever's happening, you can tell it's all over our faces. We're just like, hey, guess what's happening? But we had to learn to be protective of our client in that not everything that goes wrong needs to be part of that client's story, because the experience is supposed to be comforting and comfortable and fun. And sometimes something really annoying happens that can be fixed without them even knowing, that we can negotiate with a contractor and say, hey, we noticed this mistake. Can we split the mistake with you? We don't even want to bring it to attention to our client. Like, let's just let it move forward without having to call attention to it. Or if we do have to talk to a client about it, we talk to the client about it with a solution in hand. So we don't come to them without the solution. We come to them, this is the problem. This is how we're planning to handle it. This is, what we think the best way to handle it is. So I think learning that there's always going to be obstacles. Like every job is just filled with problems. That's all you have is problem after problem after problem. Like, that's the whole point. That's why they've hired us, because you would be insane to do it on your own, because all there is problems. Yes. Like, who wants to deal with that? So our job is to manage and mitigate problems. That's exactly what our job is. So to do that in a way that's like protective of our client, honest when we need to be, and really like not blaming the group, because you're in a group, you're an architect, you have your trades, you have your builder that you're hoping to work with again, in the end, trying to keep your trades happy is almost more important than keeping your client happy. Although your client will speak about you, you need your trade to agree to come back to work with you again and again and again. So it's really a balance of making sure no one feels, blamed, everyone feels supported, and how you get through that situation kind of unscathed. And for the most part, it's by blaming the designer. Yeah. So everyone likes that outcome.
I hear you.
So we try to be like, okay, well, you could blame us, but we also have the solution here. So here's the solution. So
yeah, 100%.
that's like,
Yeah,
that is,
I feel like we learned that through another business owner, Alexis from Schwartz Furniture. She really taught us, like, a mistake happened. Okay, guys, own it and make it and fix it. Like,
even if it's not your fault, even if
you have to pay something, it's going to cost you money. In the end, you're going to look the best to the client that you can, and you're going to solve it for them. And that is where I had to learn, because that was the prideful thing, the pride.
Yeah.
Okay, now we're like, okay, we made a mistake, and that happened.
Or we didn't make a mistake and somebody else did, and we're paying for it.
Right.
Yeah, that was fun.
I'm sure.
I mean,
we always say in every project for us, there's at least 1,000, but now it's like 5,000. There's 1,000 to 5,000, mistake.
Dollars that we kind of leave on the table. Like, we know we have to build in that cushion of $1,000 to $5,000 where we're going to have to pay back the client in some way because
somebody made a mistake.
Yeah. Or they decide they don't like something, or, and it's non-returnable, but what are you going to say? Like, no, you can't return it. We really try to sort of build in enough profit into the business that we can be we can give the kind of response that's generous. And that was hard in the beginning because we ran our business so tight, and everyone says, oh, transparency, but can't really run a transparent business. And that's like something only designers try to do. It's hysterical. It's such a female thing. It cracks me up. But you can't really run a transparent business because, and every business person knows, you have to have money off to the side waiting to get spent on something ridiculous, like there's just so many examples, but they're not coming to me specifically, but where some mistake happens, like a desk, the drawer doesn't open properly because the drawer beside it hits it, and then you're rebuilding part of the desk, and who's paying for that? We'll help cover the cost, so you have to kind of always you have to make enough money that you can be the kind of business owner to say, I got that.
Yeah.
That's being gracious. And that definitely took us a little time to learn.
I think because we were almost trying to not make as much money. We were trying to just make enough money that it was like paying for our, babysitter and just, we weren't. Yeah. And I think building a company that has money to the side really means you can be that kind of gracious business owner that says I will take care of this for you. You can't be dealing with high net worth individuals and not have a high net worth company backing you.
And being able to say, we'll cover it.
Yeah.
Don't worry about it.
Right.
There's something to that.
Yeah.
So what do you think is more important, passion or motivation? It's another this or that question. No right answer.
Well, we're both. I think that's the magic of it.
Well, yeah, 100%.
We are passion. I think we're passion, and the passion that we have for what we do. And it's not just the design.
I think you're passion. I think I'm motivation.
There you go.
I do. I do. I think you're passion for design. And I have this crazy motivation that comes from my dad being a Holocaust survivor. There's just no, I can't, I ran
That's
a marathon
amazing.
after only walking, never running a day in my life.
Wow.
There's something in me that I will rise to the occasion because I know what my father and my family rose to before.
Wow.
it is always in the back of my mind, all the time. And not that I harp on it. I just feel well, I could do that. He did way worse. I could definitely do that. I think my, that hustle, immigrant hustle, that's me.
So
and I think you have
definitely the passion. But the passion will lead to the motivation.
Yeah, that's why it's hard to pull out. If I wasn't passionate about it, it wouldn't be as easy for me to stay motivated.
Right. And you need that because we didn't want to do this just for a year. This has been 13 years now of a business that we hope to keep another 13 years and grow and keep the team growing. And it's not a little thing anymore for us. So we definitely had passion, but now we have to be motivated by the team we have and the people we're supporting, not just the two of us anymore. We're supporting the whole team.
Yeah. Definitely having both helps, but it's always an interesting question to hear what everybody has to say.
Yeah, that's a great question.
Yeah. So then obviously in your industry, everything's always changing. How do you guys stay updated, continue to learn different books, trainings, events, podcasts, networking stuff? Like, what are you guys kind of doing?
Yeah.
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 I do all of
She's
that.
a podcast queen for her.
I mean,
Yeah.
for me, I feel like the information is out there and it's free, and it would be silly for me not to learn as much as I can and continue to learn. Like I'm an entrepreneur. I run a big business now. And I really take on a lot of that business. Like that is my lane for sure.
Okay.
So I know Hilary's not listening to podcasts and reading books, and that's not her lane. Like she's doing something totally different. And so I feel like responsibility in my company to be that person who's constantly learning what's out there and other ways to do business. And, the person who connected me with you is an employee of mine who I found basically like roaming the streets of Instagram, making adorable reels, and hired her. And she and I have been in partnership on marketing, and she's just taken the ball and run with it. And she and I are back and forth all the time, like multiple times a day, coming up with new ideas for Instagram. And that's marketing. That's like basic marketing is what I'm doing there. Like Instagram looks like just this cute thing we started on the side, but it's our main driver in our business now. It's where most of our business comes from. So I'm constantly trying to learn new ways to capture audiences, new methods to capture audiences. I'm very focused on business. I think Hilary will say for her, it's travel, right? Like that's like that's where you get your inspiration.
100% travel, seeing all the vendors as, being inspired by what's coming up new, the trade shows. But I think getting out of the office inspires us, like walking on the streets of New York City or Paris or London. It gets out of just thinking about a client and gets you just being creative and what the world could be if you have just a free mind. We don't get it very often, but when we do, we come back from a trip.
I don't protect my creativity the way I'm hoping Hilary's protecting hers. Like I have to, like, I just don't. And she knows it all. I tell her all the time. I'm like, well, you have to be the creative director, because what I have to keep in my head, I don't want her keeping it in her head, because
I don't think I have room anymore in my head. Like, we say we have two brains that equal one, because, when you get so enveloped in one area, it's hard. You're right. It's hard to have it all in your head. And we grew not to have it all in our head. We grew the company so everything doesn't have to be in our heads at all times.
Yeah, I think when we talk about how we've grown, I think that's part of it, is you have to kind of accept that, yes, would I love to be designing all the time? That's definitely more fun, but my hustle is never going to let me just sit back and design. That's why for me, I have to pick motivation, and that's why for Hilary, she has to pick passion,
Yeah, 100%. And then what's something you guys are grateful for that's contributed to your success today?
Our families.
Oh, I wrote having you as my partner.
You are my family.
I know, we are family.
Great answer.
I think we're kind of like a marriage in a way. Like the two of us, like we've been through a lot of ups and downs in our personal lives, but in our business life too, flow of money, hiring people, firing people, cancer, moving to a new office. Like we are kind of in a marriage. It's a business marriage, but we have learned to really balance it out well. And I'm really grateful for that.
Oh, thanks, babe.
Yeah, that's amazing. So as we come to a close here, what's one final piece of advice you would give our listeners to help them take another step towards success?
Just go for it. Like,
there you
stop.
go.
Don't get in your way. Get out of your own fucking way.
There you
Am
go.
I allowed to say that on a podcast?
Yeah, you can. We'll just put the little E for explicit on there.
Okay. Because I think that's the thing that drives me nuts about people, and I don't have that in me. I am not in my own way around business. I'm not. I'm just not. It's just not in me. Constantly like we can figure that out. There's got to be a way for that. Somebody else knows how to do that. Like that constant
100%.
clearing. I think that I wish that's the gift I could give everybody, is there's always a way. There's always a way. Just like go for it. I think that I think
go for it and growing our team and bringing in people who really know what they're doing in certain areas is making that commitment into other people. Like, go
Yeah.
for it, but then
and then
bring
know
the
what
other
you're
people.
shitty at. Like
Yeah.
I'm really good at knowing what I
Yeah.
can't do. I have, total ADD brain. So I'm so ultra clear with myself on what I can do and what I can't do, because what I can't do is completely unattainable for me. So I think that,
Yeah, we have brought in a technical designer. We have a bookkeeper. We have a social media person. We have design team. We have a person who purchases. We bring in people who really could focus on their job. So we put together a great team. So as much as we're going for it, it's like bringing those people along the journey. I think that has been the specialness of starting out with the two of us and then growing to all these people. It becomes bigger than us, and I feel that's really special. Because like Miriam said, if we're not there for a day, they're going to still run with it. That's when you really feel successful, is when you have people who can run with you and for you sometimes.
yeah, Hilary's goal is to be like a 3-day-a-week designer.
There you go.
Yeah. And and that's totally attainable. I tell her that all the time. Like that's what we're working toward, is so that we can get to a point, in our 50s where we're not working this hard.
We're not the first one here and the last one here.
Yeah. No, I hear you. But this has been so valuable. This has been great. Thank you, guys.
Oh, thank you.
Thank you, Sal.
You got it. So then, what were you going to say?
I was going to say, I want to take a special note that your mom is in this industry too, and she's been a great industry friend to us. And if anyone knows the trials and tribulations of this industry, I'm sure you've heard it firsthand. So thank you for letting us share our story.
Yeah, definitely. Thank you for that. I appreciate it. And then anybody listening, feel free to reach out. And then if anybody wants to connect with you guys, what's the best way?
Yeah, like it's going to be me they probably reach out to, and DM me on Instagram, because that's me on the other end they're talking to, I would say. And then, I can give them more information about how to reach out to us, or, they can email hello@mimiandhill.com, and you end up with some of our great team members. So
yeah, and then I'll put all those links in the show notes as well, so anybody can get them.
Yeah. Thanks, Al.
Okay, awesome. Thank you, guys.